What if Ahsoka Tano and Obi-Wan Kenobi raised and trained Leia and Luke Skywalker? That's the path we're going to explore today, so hope you enjoy. Let's get right into it. Obi-Wan Kenobi sat with Grandmaster Yoda and Bail Organa aboard the Tantive 4, contemplating what their next move would be. The Jedi Order had fallen to the blade of Anakin Skywalker, Kenobi's former student, and now as he sat here, broken and confused, he had decided what to do with Anakin's children. Anakin, the father of Luke and Leia, was dead, burned to death on Mustafar as far as Obi-Wan was concerned. Yoda said that he must go into exile on Dagobah, and Obi-Wan said that he will take Luke to Tatooine. Bail said that he would take Leia to Alderaan, and together they went off on their separate paths. Yoda to Dagobah, Obi-Wan and Luke to Tatooine, Bail to Alderaan with Leia. A few days would pass, and eventually Bail would go to the funeral of one of his greatest friends, Padme Amidala. As the funeral concluded, Bail found Ahsoka Tano. She had also been at the funeral, and the two of them spoke in secret on a balcony. Bail was urging Ahsoka to join the rebellion. Ahsoka was sure that she must go on her own, find her own path. But Bail knew that the rebellion, the Jedi, needed her, and so he revealed a great secret. Bail told Ahsoka that she must come with him, because he has one of the children of Anakin Skywalker, and the other was with Obi-Wan Kenobi. For Ahsoka, this was all too much to take in. Anakin's children. Had he survived? How did he have children? Had Padme given birth to twins before her own death? Her own funeral? Ahsoka had endless questions, but knew the best way to get answers was to do what Bail asked, and it was clear Bail was anxious about revealing the secret, so Ahsoka decided to wait until she found Obi-Wan to get more answers about this all. And Bail told Ahsoka to go to Tatooine. There, they would meet Obi-Wan Kenobi. In these moments, Bail decided that it was best for Leia to go to Tatooine, be raised and trained with Luke. It was perhaps the only way. So Ahsoka flew to Tatooine, where she waited discreetly in a cantina until Bail arrived with a newborn baby. The locals looked like they might try something evil, but Ahsoka immediately got to Bail, and the two of them took a landspeeder transport to the Jundland Wastes. Obi-Wan Kenobi was meditating just outside of his new home. In the distance, he would occasionally see Owen and Beru holding young Luke. But today, Obi-Wan felt something in the Force. A presence. Anakin, he thought, beginning to panic. Obi-Wan got up and turned to see Ahsoka and Bail Organa. He sighed with relief. Anakin was dead. It was his old Padawan here today. Obi-Wan walked up to Ahsoka, giving her a hug and saying how great it was that she was alive. And soon after, Bail Organa told the two of them that with the appearance of Ahsoka, they must train Luke and Leia together. It took some convincing for Obi-Wan, but in the end he knew the two children could defeat the Emperor together, and a deal was made with Owen and Beru Lars. They would raise the children until they were a few years old. At that point, the children would split time between the parents and the Jedi. Bail said goodbye to them all and left for Alderaan. With Luke and Leia with their new parents, Obi-Wan brought Ahsoka to his campfire now that the sun was setting. Obi-Wan hated the fire. It reminded him of Anakin, screaming, burning, but he had to overcome his fears. He barely told Bail and Yoda what happened on Mustafar, but now he had to tell Ahsoka everything. And Obi-Wan said that the two of them, Skywalker and Kenobi, rescued Palpatine. Then everything changed. Anakin became sad, and more sad than usual. Obi-Wan remembered that Yoda said Anakin was having nightmares, and Obi-Wan continued to explain that Anakin changed. And once he took off for Utapau, it all went wrong. The Chancellor was the Sith Lord. He spent decades grooming Anakin for his role. In this moment, Ahsoka remembered Maul telling her exactly that. Then Obi-Wan described the Jedi Temple footage of Anakin slaughtering Jedi, killing younglings. Ahsoka made him stop. She couldn't take anymore. Maul was right. She failed to listen. She failed Anakin. The Jedi failed Anakin, and Anakin failed himself. But Ahsoka had to know, is Anakin still alive? And she knew immediately, looking at Obi-Wan, that Anakin was gone. Obi-Wan described Mustafar now, and this destroyed Ahsoka. She wandered off a bit. Obi-Wan did what had to be done, but could she ever look at him the same? These revelations would haunt Obi-Wan and Ahsoka every night, wondering what they could have done to help Anakin, to make things different every night for 5 years. And after these 5 years, the two of them had gotten close again. They were really each other's only great company. They both worked dead-end jobs in the city, but now the real challenge, their own rebellion. At the age of 5, Luke and Leia began their training. It was far from traditional, as both children saw their parents every day, but over time, Ahsoka became Luke's official master, while Obi-Wan became Leia's. It was astonishing how much the children were like their parents, and for both Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, it was both haunting and joyful to see. 5 more years would go by. Luke and Leia were as strong as Anakin was at the same age, definitely advanced for their age. They didn't understand their place in this galaxy, not even a little bit, and the children were full of joy. Obi-Wan wished he could share the same joy, but every time he looked at Luke, he saw Anakin the day the two of them met, and it was destroying him inside. But he did train the children, along with Ahsoka as well as they could. It was good to have Ahsoka around. She helped Obi-Wan let the Jedi code loose a bit when needed, just like his former master, Qui-Gon Jinn. And one late night, Obi-Wan was trying to find Qui-Gon in the Force. Yoda said Qui-Gon was around, and Obi-Wan could sometimes feel him, but the two could just never link up. Obi-Wan went deep into meditation, was having no luck. Obi-Wan thought it may be because of his fear, his suffering. He just couldn't let go of Anakin. He, like Qui-Gon, was dead. His former Padawan, dead. And Obi-Wan had a thought that he decided to explore. Perhaps now that Anakin was dead, he was somewhere in the Force. So, Obi-Wan reached out into the Force, searching for his fallen brother, and he could almost feel a connection. A real one. Obi-Wan knew this might be a bad idea, but he missed Anakin so much. He continued to reach out, and eventually Obi-Wan saw lava. He saw a castle, Mustafar. Against his better judgment, Obi-Wan kept going deeper into the Force, trying to find Anakin in the Netherworld. Ahsoka woke up in the middle of the night. Something was wrong. The Force was dark. She quickly got up, sprinting to Obi-Wan's cave, which was right near her small home. She was about to reach the door when she heard Obi-Wan scream out in fear. Obi-Wan's eyes jolted open. Moments ago, he'd reached out to Anakin. He saw Mustafar, and the Force connected him with Anakin. But Obi-Wan now understood why. It was because Anakin was alive, and he knew Anakin felt it too. It was like Anakin spent nights, every moment waiting for this, waiting for Obi-Wan to connect with him, like Anakin had been trying to connect with Obi-Wan. The two of them had locked eyes in some sort of Force vision. Obi-Wan saw Mustafar, and he realized now, as he screamed out in fear, that Vader may have seen Tatooine. And he told Ahsoka what just happened, how he may have just put everyone in danger. Inside the castle on Mustafar, Vader wasted no time contacting Imperial squads on Tatooine. That's where his old master was. The two of them shared a connection unlike anyone else. Vader had been searching for Obi-Wan in the Force for years, and today, Obi-Wan finally did the same. Vader had him now, as he quickly boarded his ship, meeting a Star Destroyer to go to Tatooine immediately. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka woke up Owen, Beru, Luke, and Leia. They had to leave immediately. Obi-Wan contacted Bail Organa, and he was coming to pick them up. There was no time to wait. Anakin was coming. All of them quickly got up and boarded their speeder transport into town. It was immediately clear in Mos Eisley that the Empire was on high alert. They were going up to everyone and showing a picture of Obi-Wan, asking if they had seen this man. Luckily, Obi-Wan was the only one that Anakin knew was on Tatooine. He didn't know about Ahsoka, Owen, Beru, or the children. This was good, but they were going to have to split up. Obi-Wan said they had to split up and they would eventually meet on Alderaan, so Obi-Wan went off on his own, while the rest went to meet Bail, who was on his way. Obi-Wan hid outside of town for a while, and the rest of them waited. It had been hours since the vision, and Anakin was coming. Obi-Wan knew it. How had he survived was all Obi-Wan could think. He looked to the hangar bay in the distance to see Bail arriving. Finally, some good news. But the relief lasted only a second, as Obi-Wan saw a Star Destroyer emerge into the night sky. They didn't have much time. Vader would be here any second. Obi-Wan called to Bail to find him just outside of Mos Eisley, and Obi-Wan waited for his pickup. The initial plan was to meet on Alderaan, but there was time for this. There was time for all of them to get into one ship. Obi-Wan didn't think if he was left here that he would survive alone. And eventually, the ship arrived, and Obi-Wan jumped up to the open ramp. But he was frozen in mid-air, and as his body froze, he was filled with terror. He yelled at Bail to go, then he felt himself slam into the ground a moment later. Dazed, Obi-Wan turned to see a tall figure walking to him, a man in black armor, Anakin. Obi-Wan didn't need to see his face to recognize his former student, and nearly every ounce of Anakin was gone inside of him. This machine was all darkness now. Anakin was dead, replaced by Vader, and Obi-Wan watched Vader ignite his lightsaber, swinging it down on him. Obi-Wan barely got his own lightsaber out to block it, but Vader slammed down twice more, disarming Obi-Wan. Vader went for the kill, but a new blue lightsaber flew in, catching Vader across the shoulder as he stumbled backwards. Obi-Wan got up, grabbing his lightsaber, and stood next to Ahsoka as she pulled back her own lightsaber. Darth Vader looked forward to see Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, his master and his apprentice. They both failed him, and now they would die. With a powerful stride, Vader advanced toward his former comrades. Ahsoka leaped into action, while Obi-Wan displayed his Jedi skills, and the emotional clash of lightsabers, sparks flying in all directions. Ahsoka's agile maneuvers allowed her to strike from multiple angles, forcing Vader to defend himself, and Obi-Wan's defenses were impeccable, deflecting Vader's strikes without much effort, waiting for the right moment to counter. But Vader used his rage to fuel his attacks. Ahsoka and Obi-Wan created a great team together after these years. Together, they pressed the Sith Lord back, their blue blades working together. But Vader was strong, and he began to push them back as well. This was a fair fight. Above them, Bail circled back in, being chased by TIE fighters, but he fired down at Vader. Despite Vader's strength, he found himself momentarily overwhelmed by the combined might of Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, and the fire from the ship. Ahsoka sliced into his wrist, and Vader roared in frustration. Gathering his strength, he unleashed a wave of the Force, sending the Jedi tumbling backwards. As the dust settled, Vader stood alone in the sand, his breathing heavy beneath his mask. His anger was overwhelming him. Ahsoka and Obi-Wan used the Force push from Vader to perfectly time a leap into the ship of Bail as it swung downward. Vader reached out to grab the ship, but Obi-Wan pushed back. They both were pushed backwards, but Obi-Wan fell into the ship, giving Bail time to jump into hyperspace with everyone on board. Vader put his lightsaber away, looking far into the desert. He hated this planet, hated the sand, hated Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and they'd escaped him. And he looked into the distance to where his mother was buried. Her son was dead, Vader told himself, as he walked back to his ship. On Alderaan, Bail Organa found a home for Owen and Beru to stay in, and another one far away in the forest for Ahsoka and Obi-Wan to live with the children. It was time for them to fully train. Bail had been smart enough to take a ship from a different planet, hiding any involvement in rescuing the Jedi. Everyone was safe. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka sat together in their new home. Anakin was dead. Vader was alive, and they were determined to avenge Anakin Skywalker. And so for the next 10 years now, Ahsoka and Obi-Wan dedicated themselves to training the children, hidden away in the forest, in order to defeat Vader and the Emperor. Under the watchful guidance of Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, Luke and Leia had matured into formidable Jedi Knights. Obi-Wan imparted his knowledge of the Jedi Code, lightsaber combat, and the importance of discipline. His calm demeanor and unwavering commitment to the Jedi profoundly influenced both of the children. And Ahsoka had forged her own path beyond the Jedi Order, which brought a unique perspective to the training, which really nicely countered Obi-Wan's. She instilled in them the value of empathy and connection, reminding them that the Force was more than just a tool for combat. It was a powerful force for good in the galaxy, and that's what they would use it for. As the years passed, Luke and Leia would grow in the Force. They honed their combat skills through duels in the sunlight of the forest, their lightsabers flashing with more skill every time. And their power in the Force was on the same level now of Ahsoka and Obi-Wan. Together, they all embodied the ideal Jedi, wielding their power for the greater good. And on Alderaan, far from the chaos and darkness around the galaxy, Luke and Leia's bond with their mentors grew strong. They became a symbol of the potential for good in this galaxy, suffering under the Empire. Obi-Wan still held some fear for facing the Sith, but he was determined to do what must be done. And finally, as Obi-Wan contemplated his next move, Qui-Gon Jinn finally came to him. Obi-Wan was so relieved, and the two discussed the Jedi, Anakin, and the children. Qui-Gon helped Obi-Wan to let go, and realize it was time for the true test for these young Jedi. It was time to face the Sith, and Obi-Wan knew from his vision a decade ago where Vader lived. Mustafar. Inside his castle, Vader spoke with his master, Darth Sidious. Sidious had come all the way to Mustafar as he felt a great disturbance in the Force, an awakening of sorts, and he came here personally to warn Vader. The two of them discussed what this disturbance could be, when the security to the castle alerted them of an arrival. Vader knew instantly it was Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. Obi-Wan knew of this place from their shared vision, a detail Vader never revealed to Sidious. The two of them walked to the hangar where they saw 4 Jedi emerge, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, but with them, 2 younger Jedi. Vader looked to the boy and saw Anakin, himself in a different time. Then he turned to the girl. Padme. No, it's not possible, Vader thought. But he knew it was true. These were his children, and Sidious sensed it too. Their strength in the Force, how much they resembled their parents, how much they felt like their parents in the Force after training for years. The children had a strong bond to their mentors. Sidious knew all 4 of these Jedi must die. Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Luke, and Leia looked to the Sith Lords. They knew Anakin was their father, and they knew their father was smothered by Vader. Like their masters, they wanted to avenge their father, and their blue lightsabers ignited, casting reflections on the castle's walls. Darth Sidious was not amused, and he quickly unleashed a torrent of Sith lightning toward the Jedi. Ahsoka deflected the crackling bolts with her twin blades, creating a shield as Obi-Wan moved with the children to confront the Sith. Vader became torn quickly between his loyalty to the dark side, and the love he felt for Padme was overwhelming. He had children. He and Padme had children. He hadn't seen anything close to Padme, felt anything close to Padme, in decades. And now, here today, 2 children, strong in the Force, Jedi like he used to be. But he broke out of his trance and engaged in a fierce lightsaber duel with Obi-Wan. Their blades clashed with intensity, a reflection of their long history. Meanwhile, Luke and Leia fought against Sidious, their connection to each other helping greatly. Sidious was all-powerful, but it was clear these Jedi were the children of the Chosen One. He used his own lightsaber to deflect each strike, but became distracted as he sensed the conflict in Vader. The lightsaber of Leia cut his leg, and in anger, he shot extremely powerful lightning at the young Jedi, slamming them against their ship. But Sidious was so unbalanced in this anger that his lightning slammed into the far wall, destroying it and causing the fortress to shake. Ahsoka aided Obi-Wan, and together they fought Vader as they felt the castle tremble. An entire wall collapsed, and around them debris began to rain down. Vader watched as debris knocked down Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. He knew right now he could kill them both, but he looked to his children, once again fighting the Emperor, and losing. Vader began to sense the inner conflict within himself. The love he had for Padme and their children was greater than the dark side, and in a moment of clarity, he turned against Sidious, force pushing him hard at the wall. Sidious slammed into it, and this escalated the castle's collapse. Vader pulled parts of the wall down on his Sith master, quickly burying him, and Sidious let out a chilling scream as he was consumed by his own anger, and as the Sith Lord died, he let out a strong dark side burst, creating an explosion around the castle as his final move. The castle rained down on them. Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Luke, and Leia realized that this must be their end, but the debris never came. Vader, no, Anakin, was holding the castle in place for a few moments. He told the Jedi to go, get in their ship now. It was too late for him. He would hold the castle in place for as long as he could, and all 4 of the Jedi said a non-verbal goodbye to Anakin. None of them expected him to turn back to the light, but his deep love for Padme's children had done it. The 4 Jedi boarded the ship and made it out of the castle right as it completely fell into the lava below. Anakin was gone, and the Emperor was gone. This was the moment Bail and the rebellion had been told to wait for. and in the disappearance of the Emperor and Vader, the rebellion launched a full attack on Coruscant. The Death Star was destroyed before it could finish being built, and the Empire collapsed as its Sith Lord leader died. It never stood a chance without Palpatine, and in time Bail Organa would become Chancellor of a new republic, while Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Luke, and Leia started a new Jedi Order, with Yoda returning as a guide. Yoda could sense a darkness in these children, but it was different than Anakin. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka seemed to have quieted the darkness, and a new order began again. Folks, thank you for listening. That is where our story ends today. Thank you all so much, and I'm still contemplating a move, but I think I'm going to have 2 channels. This one for all the fanfictions, just because the fanfictions do views so much better, and you know, it's like the YouTube algorithm stuff. And then a second channel for lore, streams, news, just a more chill one, you know. That's the idea, rough idea. We'll see if it happens, probably will, but let me know what you think about that. 2 channels, this one dedicated to fanfictions basically every other day, and then another one just for any other kind of video. I think that's going to be the plan. Yeah, thank you all so much for the support on these videos. It means the world to me, literally changing my life. So, thank you all, have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video.